The podcast we don't ever argue about. We don't ever disagree about. It's get the shows done, do them with integrity, make them entertaining. And it's been a conduit for the magazine because it gives us a broadcast outlet, an ancillary version of the culture that we're so desperately needing in this industry that's being gobbled up, slowly by corporations and such. And somebody has to preserve the culture. And the podcast really, if the magazine is the heart, the podcast is the reproductive organ, Wes.
You stay stimulating.
Leaf Life.
As the cultivators for cannabis journalism worldwide, we take our responsibility of narrating the culture of this movement very seriously. So after 14 years of publishing The Leaf and 6 years of releasing a new Leaf Life show every week, the reward is simply being able to live our best lives and relish the accomplishment of outlasting 99% of all other podcasts that exist. This is show number 300, 6 years in the making.
Wow.
Yeah, good job.
So our first segment, how the fuck did this happen? And in our second segment, what's up with the Leaf? But before we get educated, we got to get medicated, so let's get stoned. All right. Let's make it happen. Wherever your day is led you now, it's time to fire up, chew up, or drink up. Get in the mood as we introduce this show's Greg the Guinea Pig.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Greg the Guinea Pig. Who's our guest this week?
Greg the Guinea Pig warning. These tasks are undertaken by experienced cannabis users and under the supervision of accredited professionals. So please take our advice and definitely try this at home.
Man, it's such a joy, a privilege, and an honor to introduce the person who was the guest on show number 1. Grandma Kat Jeter. She's a medicine woman who appeared on that show, also show 100, 200, and now 300. Kat, you believed in us in the beginning. You showed up when we were just a couple knuckleheads with a dream and a vision. And here we are now at show 300, and it's only fitting that you would be our guest.
A couple of knuckleheads with a vision.
That still describes us.
So let's spin AJ's wheel and see what Grandma Kat's going to be hitting. We're going to have plenty of time
And
to catch
now, what's in AJ's stash?
All right, AJ, give this medicine woman some medicine.
Oh, yeah. So blessed to be here with you, Grandma Kat, and smoking the good herbs, cheaping them.
Well, it's so wonderful. There's 4 of you that I just have known and loved for so long.
We love you too,
We've all
Kat.
grown up together.
Yes, we have.
No, I refuse.
Well, the Leaf is 14 years old, and you've been in it much longer than that. And when you've known somebody and worked with somebody for 14 years, and you've been through the trials and tribulations that it takes in the cannabis industry to get this far, there's a bond that's irreplaceable. And as a pillar of the Society of Washington Cannabis and beyond, and the purveyor of Kush creams and so much RSO that has helped people medicinally, it is very fitting that a medicine woman like you, who has long dreads that just look like, hanging buds curing, truly a warrior, a peace warrior for the plant.
Thank you. Goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that
Check and make certain someone else isn't here.
No, I'm looking at you. She's all looking around. You're talking about me.
very humble, this one.
Well, you got me hitting the bong while I'm doing that, so you're priming me.
The white truffle by 1937. What did you think, Grandma Kat? Look at these beautiful nugs.
I think that was fine enough for dessert.
Grown in Duval, Washington, and this one actually won one of the Leaf Bowls.
Yeah.
There were so many good entries this year in the Leaf Bowl.
Yeah, we love 1937 Farms. Shout out to Jeff and Matt McCoy. Matt is a former Seahawk, and Jeff is a plant aficionado, and I had the pleasure of getting out and catching salmon with both those dudes this summer. And they grow incredible weed, and they entered the Leaf Bowl for the first time and took home 3 first place prizes, including for this, the Flyin Hawaiian, which you'll be smoking next, which was a Northwest Leaf strain of the month. So
there's another course coming.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
There's
hooray.
a second helping.
They're good buddies of ours, and we figured it was fitting that they should be on this ceremonious show. By a Seahawk, Wes means he played for the Seattle Seahawks in the National Football League. He spent 8 years there. And, you know, obviously he uses cannabis medicinally, as do a lot of athletes. Big ups to 1937 Farms.
Love
now,
you guys.
Grandma Cat, let's go back in time to show number 1. Wes and I met, ironically, at Interchange here in Washington at a networking event. And then we ran into each other at the Dope Industry Awards, ironically. And my company, Wham Oil, won an award that night for Best Concentrates Company. And Wes approached me afterwards and he said, you know, I was a fan of your radio show back in the day, and I would love to do an article on you. And he did. He ended up putting me on the cover. And at that time, he also, you know, I said, what? I called him out there. I said, you didn't tell me you were putting me on the fucking cover, dude. He said, well, we don't share the C word. Yeah. And by the
Kat
way,
knows that feeling too, having been on the cover as well.
And
I like
by
to
the
be
way,
surprises.
I've been wanting to start a podcast for Northwest Leaf. And I thought, don't threaten me with a good time. And so we started it at a friend of mine's. He was a Bitcoin millionaire, penthouse suite in Bellevue, because he had a studio that he built and he wanted to do podcasts.
It was
Nothing ever
gorgeous.
came of it. Yeah, it was gorgeous.
It was Russell Wilson's old penthouse. Actually, we hotboxed the shit out of that
And
place.
Jerry, you were there, weren't you?
I was, I was on show number 3.
We recorded 4 shows that day.
Yeah.
And Kat, you were the very first guest with, what was her name? Who's Maddie's mother?
Oh,
Miracle Maddie's mother. She was the
So
Greg.
many
was it
dabs.
Rachel?
No, she was the Greg the guinea pig. And that was the beginning. And that afternoon, that evening, we hung out. You know, it was also Wes's 30th birthday that day.
Wow.
And we hung out in the penthouse. And I remember walking out on the balcony, and I was nicely lit. And we had just recorded our very first 4 shows. And mind you, I had a radio career that was 20 years in terrestrial radio that dates back to when I was 7 years old and I did my first voiceover. So I've been doing it my whole life. My father and my uncle were both radio guys. My dad was a DJ. I was raised moving around the country, going from microphone to microphone. And I remember standing out there because now I didn't work for the corporation, for the big machine that kept firing me. I got fired 5 times in my radio career.
Wow.
And I was standing out there, and this was the first time I had done something where I didn't have a boss. And I was standing on that balcony, and I was overlooking Bellevue, the city just east of Seattle, and beautiful Puget Sound, or Lake Washington. And I had my "the world is yours" moment, where Tony Montana sees the blimp, and it says "the world is yours," and he's like, the dramatic music. And I thought to myself at that moment, you know what? I'm not gonna fucking quit. I don't care whatever it takes or however long it takes. I'm going to see this thing through. And we got to show 10 and 20. We got to show 100. And it felt like we'd accomplished the greatest achievement known to mankind. And now here we are, 300 shows later. Years later. It feels like it. Freudian slip.
Well, in the magazine industry, it would feel like that.
And there you were on that very first show, so enthusiastic. You know, I knew that we had to bring a professionalism to the show to make it good, because it has to be entertaining. And that I know from my radio career, right? If it's not entertaining, you're going to lose listeners. So it has to be fun. And the energy that you brought, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 6 years ago. Wes is 36 now.
Wow.
And I knew, because of the guests like you and Jerry, there was a need for this in the Washington cannabis space, and a real need for a professional cannabis podcast that is entertaining, not just 5 dudes sitting around talking about hip hop and how lit they are, but actually educational and entertaining radio podcasting. And you were the very first subject that we had the pleasure of interviewing. So great respect to you. Thank you so much for believing in us from the very beginning, Kat.
Aww.
Well, I surely have. You know, I know both of you and various roles going back in the past, all four of you. You know, how fun is this to be celebrating 300 with all of you?
Wow.
Yeah, we got some stories we could tell.
Well, starting with that night, our friend Justin and Wes had a party bus that they owned, and we took it out, and these knuckleheads ended up eating a birthday cake with 10,000 milligrams of.
No way.
Yeah,
10,000.
It was actually 16,000, but at that point, who's counting?
Psychedelic dose?
Well, yeah. Actually, we met one of our future business partners that night, Michael Early, who helped us start Maryland Leaf.
Yeah.
And he thought we were all on mushrooms. And we were just so high from that birthday cake. We were just like tripping balls. But
Cannabis.
You know, yes.
Yeah.
But that first show, you came on with Miracle Maddie, who was a child born with a very rare genetic condition, and she had not been expected to live past a few weeks or months.
Megan was her mom.
Megan, thank you.
And at that point, Maddie was a few years old and was living a happy life, as happy as she could, you know, given the conditions. But truly, you could see when she was not in pain that she was a happy, loved child. And it was 100% because of cannabis, and it was because of your RSO that you gave to her at risk of a lot to provide that medicine. And that was the spirit of this industry. And that's why I felt so strongly that our first episode had to be not about just getting high or any of the fun yoga and weed or, you know, meditation and cannabis, all the fun things we've done. But it needed to be about something that was undisputable, which was a child that was alive because of the plant that other people were in jail for.
There's no doubt it improved her quality of life. And the thanks of a grateful parent are an intense narcotic. So it's, you know, it's a type of work that the more you get, the more you want.
Yes.
And that journey
No
started
doubt.
with a bang. And I'll say, it's been a lot of work to get this far. We were in the beginning, Wes, we wanted to be a traveling podcast. So we spent the money to take all our equipment on the road. And we went to Tampa, Las Vegas, over to Spokane, Washington, Portland, Alaska, all these different markets and setup. You can listen to those shows in our first 100, and it was laborious, but we got through it. In fact, we had so many different calamities on the road. It made it 5 times harder. Now we've got this cool studio built here in Seattle. You just show up, do shows, not have to think about, you know, hooking up all the equipment and stuff. We had some trepidation along the way. In fact, there was one time, and big ups to Stash and Harley Stash, who are
Harley.
Harley
I remember
Ray.
her.
They were our 2 very first females on the show. First, it was Harley Ray. We went to Denver with her and had a great time. Went to the Cannabis Museum in Las Vegas. By the way, the Denver shows were at a Bud B&B where we set up in the lounge area, and it had like a dab bar, and it was an Airbnb that was all about cannabis. At the end of the shows, at the end of the weekend, they had a chef come in and cook this massive crawfish boil for us with all kinds of good food. And then that night we did some lemon tech mushrooms and rounded up 5 scooters and went and scootered around Denver and checked out all the murals and the fountains and stuff and had an absolute blast. This podcast,
I love it,
for Wes and me has been a vehicle and really an electric outlet for our relationship. Because without this,
shocking.
we would always be fighting about the fucking magazine. But the podcast, we don't ever argue about. We don't ever disagree about. It's get the shows done, do them with integrity, make them entertaining. And it's been a conduit for the magazine because it gives us a broadcast outlet, an ancillary version of the culture that we're so desperately needing in this industry that's being gobbled up, you know, slowly by corporations and such. And somebody has to preserve the culture. And the podcast really, you know, if the magazine is the heart, you know, the podcast is the reproductive organ, Wes.
You stay stimulating.
I'm not often at a loss for words, but you know, it's a chance to have different conversations. And print, when I was in school for journalism, my professor said, don't plan to go into print. And, being a knucklehead, I was like, well, I'm going to start a weed newspaper. Because as you can see from an early issue on the table, if you're at YouTube, Leaf Life V2, it was a newspaper in the beginning for that first year. And back then,
Truly.
it's hard to explain how illegal it was for people of today's society who just go to a weed store and buy products. And that was why I wanted that first episode to be about healing children, because where this came from was like outlaws who cared. It's like the best way I can put it.
Oh, I still identify as outlaw, 100%.
Renegade.
Yes.
And the care, because it was an illegal act, but doing it medically meant not charging the most money that you could for a product. It meant trying to create a safe space. And in the early days, just opening your doors risked federal raid, opening the doors to a dispensary. It was a different era. And the folks who were part of the industry then were not just focused on the money. It was almost the money was a reward for if you get in trouble, because almost everybody had a little trouble. But it was really about something pure.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of that still going on, but it's become very much like it was when the medical laws were first passed in Washington. You know someone who knows someone.
And that's still
can get
important.
you access.
The healing nature of the plant, the connectedness of the plant. And we love retail stores. Your son co-owns a great retail chain, House of Cannabis.
Yeah.
With 4 locations now?
Kevin, how many shows you been on now? 5?
No, I'm on number 4.
He's on number 4.
4-timer.
Nice.
Come on around real quick. He's a big supporter of the Leaf. He holds our inside back cover in Northwest Leaf. And Kevin, hop on the camera over there behind the Leaf sign. We just want to give recognition
Over there by
to your son. This is a family operation.
It sure is.
The Hydrick Grandma Cat Jeters. There's Kevin right there. He owns 4 stores and just expanded into Whidbey where you live, and you started that operation with so much heart and grace, and we just owe so much to you guys here at the Leaf, and we respect you deeply. Yes, sir, Kevin.
What? House of Cannabis? Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah. Tacoma, Tonasket, Twist, Whidbey Island, and coming soon, Bellingham.
Awesome.
Newest expansion.
Dude, you guys are making waves.
Yeah,
doing
they
our
own the
best,
House of Cannabis brand. It's a staple in Washington State. And Kat, thank you for giving birth to this kid. And now it's time for you to play Common Loraxogens.
How much do you actually know about the most mysterious mossback ever to scratch his chin quaff on an elk antler? This is Common Loraxogens.
You said it yourself. You've known Wes a long time.
I have.
So there's, a certain intelligence that's common about understanding the tics and habits of a bearded Lorax.
I've seen ticks.
Exactly.
She really does know you.
Oh, ding. That was a good one. Wow. I've seen ticks on the bearded Lorax, of course.
Well, I try to have a little mystery. This game makes that hard.
That's right. Well, much is yet to be learned about the mystifying species of bearded Lorax. However, Kat, here's what we do know. Are you ready? Okay.
Always.
If you can't judge a book by its cover, what can't you judge a bearded Lorax by? She's thinking. She's got her head straight into the clouds, looking at the sky, eyes closed, really contemplating. Okay, here it comes.
His footprint.
That's incorrect.
That's a good one.
That's incorrect.
Grandma Cat.
Yeah, you
I like
cannot
that.
judge a bearded Lorax by its footprint. Could be correct, but the real answer is it's books. If you can't judge a book by its cover, you can't judge a bearded Lorax by its books. Although the bearded Lorax publishes the world's most widely circulated cannabis magazine on the planet and is considered to be well-read, there's no mistaking that the bearded Lorax all-time favorite books to read are the Berenstain Bears. I wish I had duck feet, and of course, The Adventures of Captain Underpants, initially introduced to him by little Sophie Lorax.
Classic.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm partial to The Spooky Old House.
Oh,
Yes.
That's fun.
And the Berenstain Bears series, to be certain.
And the Hardy Boys. That was a great one.
And number 2. If an opossum carries its children on its back, how does the bearded Lorax transport his brood?
One under each arm.
That's incorrect.
I wish they were so fun when I could still pick them up. You know,
The answer is in his beard, of course.
like baby chicks.
Like the indigenous animal that it is, the bearded Lorax utilizes everything that nature provides to keep his brood safe and warm. Bearded Lorax beards can be knotted to form a comfortable hammock for transporting not only children, but groceries, refrigerators, and baby wipes. Most people don't know that the wiry chin fur is as strong as steel and was often harvested in the 18th century by the U.S. Navy and used for rope on their ships before it was replaced by hemp because it is resilient to salt water.
I've seen both lunch and joints stashed in the bearded Loraxes.
And crumbs.
Yes, I have seen both of those things.
Baby
So.
bearded Loraxes.
And ticks.
And number 3. Here we go.
What happened?
If Elon Musk is trying to get to Mars, where's the bearded Lorax trying to get to? Oh, Cat. We stumped you the first 2 times. What's the third answer? If Elon's going to Mars.
Home.
Good answer,
Just
but
home.
incorrect.
Like, this gotta be moving. He just
Sorry.
wants to go home.
The answer is Uranus. Yeah.
Oh, what? Wait a minute.
Sure. Well, Elon's trying to get to Mars. The bearded Lorax is often mystified by the heavenly bodies and has always felt a desire to explore this desolate planet simply because it has a funny name. He will tell you that after he quenches this desire to circle it in a spaceship, his next venture will be to throw a dog bone towards Ursa Major so Pluto will go and fetch it. All right, guys.
I just want to be the first one in Uranus.
Boy talk.
It's hard. It's hard being such a knucklehead. Thank God for free speech.
You're going to be an outlaw in Uranus.
If you want to discover cannabis news, reviews, entertainment, and culture, and explore every single Leaf magazine at your convenience, search leafmagazines.com. Coming up in our second segment, we'll dive into what's up with the Leaf Empire on this momentous occasion. We'll get another spin of AJ's wheel, and the party continues in just a moment with Leaf Life.
These products have intoxicating effects and may be habit forming.
Marijuana can impair concentration, coordination, and judgment.
Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence of this drug.
There may be health risks associated with consumption of these products.
For use by adults 21 and older.
Keep out of the reach of children.